Welcome to another installment of Feral Tarot Deck Reviews. First thing we're going to get into is packaging. Get into her. The vibe, the mood. She is the moment. You could put this deck on your bookshelf like this as a book and nobody would know the difference. Chef's kiss. Packaging is phenomenal. We have no complaints about the packaging. You can see the inside of the deck. Slides for that, because again, with the satiny finish, it's a little difficult to photograph and do justice to. So getting right into the guidebook. Like you remember last time, guidebooks come in all shapes, sizes, content levels. This one is a biggin. It's got a proper spine, just like the other one. It's got a nice little blurb on the back, which, as you can see, I have exposed you to via the slides. The table of contents is kicking. It's like 4 pages. Oracle deck, shadow work, feminine power, invoking the oracles, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 10 extra little how-tos and like bonus things. It's comprehensive. It's good. It's good for that. We have no complaints. You also get a list of what all of the oracles are. Now, the deal with this deck is that it's all dark feminine, I think is the vibe. Maybe not dark feminine specifically, but feminine. And traditionally, it's women who were, or female figures, who were ostracized by society or are just literally, Lilith's in here, and Lilith is Lilith, but then there's like Joan of Arc. And Matoka, which is Pocahontas, as you know, pop culture knows her. So it runs the whole gambit. So you can kind of get what the vibe is here. And then we have this little like embracing the light. So once you go down into the shadow, because it's an oracle deck and you're supposed to use it for deep reflection and introspection. So once you go down into the shadow, get into the vibe, and then you got to come back out. You can't stay down there. And then about the author. So that is the tea on the guidebook. We love a good guidebook. I love it. Like, chef's kiss. One thing about Vixen is his decks, guidebooks are top tier. I love them. I hope they're not also AI generated completely, but the guidebooks are what, like, the level of quality that the artistry in the deck should be, in my opinion. Now, the next thing we're going to get into is the size of the cards. So while I was measuring these out, because I am that person, I have a Gemini rise. Mercury rules my life. So I'm that person. I'm going to go ahead and measure the cards. The standard Rider-Waite pack card is 2.75 by 4.75 inches, which is your standard, as you can see, card size. That's the blue stripy one there on the screen. The one behind it is the Ethereal tarot card, which we know is about the size of an iPhone 12 Pro, I think, was what I said in the last review. I don't know, go look there. But it's listed as 2.75 by 5.5 inches, which is the same width, but it's really tall and skinny. And the Obsidian Veil card is supposed to be the exact same size as the Ethereal card. They're both supposed to be 2.75 inches across by 5.5 inches up. And I have dyscalculia, which is a number-based learning disability, sensory, it's not sensory, but like spatial. Numbers are really hard for me. Numbers, space, time, like stuff like that. It's difficult. So I thought I was losing my mind when I was measuring these, because I was like, I know I'm really bad with numbers and math and anything to do with numbers, but even for me, this math isn't mathing. I literally measured the cards, stuck a tape measure next to them. Obsidian Veil is 2.75 wide. They're both 2.75 wide. That tracks. However, Obsidian Veil is slightly taller than Ethereal, which is, it was throwing me. So they're both supposed to be 5.5. Obsidian Veil is 5.5625. So it's 5 and 9/16, just over 5.5. Ethereal is 5.4375 inch, which is 5 and 7/16. So it's just before the half. So neither one is 5.5. That's kind of significant. That's not a slight. That's not even like a couple millimeters. I mean, it is a couple millimeters, but you know what I mean. May or may not be a deal breaker to you, but it annoys me. What can I say? Next thing we're going to get into is the edging, the foiling on the edges. So just like the Ethereal deck, it is edged in gold. It's pretty good quality printing. As you can see, there's one card in here that's a little rougher, just because sometimes that's the way they come out. But some decks, when you get them foiled like this, it looks very like patchy, scuffy, kind of antiqued, but not in like the cute aesthetic way. So this is pretty uniform. I have used this deck I've shuffled it like 3 times. So there's not a lot of wear and tear on it. These are supposed to be matte, just like the Ethereal cards were supposed to be matte. But the Ethereal cards had a satin finish. So it was like matte adjacent. Here's Ethereal. Not full on gloss, but definitely not matte. This is Obsidian. Not matte in any sense of the word. This is really not matte. And it's listed on the website as matte. We'll just get right into it. My beef with both decks is that all of the artwork used in the deck is generative AI. All of it. Every last bit. And like I said in the tarot deck review, I don't know if Vixen intended this or not, but there's a very Rorschachian moment that could be happening as your subconscious transposes what is going on in your life and what it wants to see in the images. I get that. I get that that could be like the vibe. I love a subtle detail. However, it's not disclosed anywhere that it's generative AI. On the Baroque tarot deck, all of their website and everything says that they use digital art, they hand draw everything, and then they put it into digital art, and then they use like some AI editing. I don't know exactly what that means, but they disclose it. This does not at all. So my problem with generative AI for stuff like divinatory means is you're taking, especially if it's historical figures, AI mines the internet for images and content that already exist, cherry picks whatever you tell it to, and morphs that all into one cohesive image. And sometimes the cohesive image is not cohesive. When you have like historical figures, public figures, movie characters, gods and goddesses, you end up with this weird mishmash of like comic book character, art influences, with like lore Olympus, with historical fiction. Like, it's weird. Some of this stuff doesn't marry, and it results in cards that are not accurate at all. This deck is supposed to tap into divine feminine, dark feminine energy and help you channel that. Now, look at these. Look at Kali. For real. And Nefertiti. Where? Tituba, it's giving very English thorn, thistly witchcraft, which is, the Salem thing. However, Tituba was an Afro-Caribbean indigenous woman, not a white, scrawny, rosebud thorn-esque looking thing. And why is Nefertiti blue? And why does Kali, covered with porcelain art, have monkey feet and only 2 arms? And Amonut, which is Matoka, which is Pocahontas, you see her there, in her 20-something, 30-something-year-old form, except she didn't look like that, and she died when she was 22. So let's get into some of the notable figures in this deck that I didn't know who they were, and me being me, if I don't know something, I'm going to go look it up. So I'm inflicting that all upon you too. So Santa Lucia, this is what grinds my gears about AI art. Look at this card. Look at it. Stunning. Visually, like, human paint this, I would buy it as a print. But it's AI, so it's trash. Like, can't stand it. So, Santa Lucia concentrated her virginity to God, angered a guy who was courting her. He reported her to Roman authorities and as like a witch or whatever. Sentenced to death by fire. Survived. Allegedly unscathed. And I've been on fire before. I was blown up in 2005. So that's impressive to me. To be sentenced to death by fire, to be burned to death, and nothing, like not even a singe. Crazy. So she survived the fire, but then stabbed in the neck. So there's that. Santa Lucia is the all-seeing martyr. Christian martyr, lived in the 4th century, according to legend, dedicated her life to her faith and committed to serving others. She would wear a wreath of candles on her head to light the way as she carried food and supplies to those in need. Tragically, Santa Lucia met a martyr's fate. Persecuted and tortured for her Christian beliefs, she gouged out her eyes and ultimately lost her life. Well, I didn't see anything about that on the internet, but here we are. Santa Lucia assists in the revelation of hidden truths and uncovering deeper meanings, because she gouged her eyes out. That's why her eyes are all red in that, too. Gotcha. You are on a path of profound insights and revelations. Trust your intuition. Okay. So there's that. The next one, visually, I just thought, like, it's very impressive. Probably butchering it, but Clodna. Gaelic is really difficult for me. As it is for anybody who's not from there. But I just thought it was visually appealing. The image that the AI, that Vixen chose to go with, she's Queen of the Banshees. Let's find her page. The Soft Whisperer. Themes of desire, unattainable love, and allure of the otherworldly. A longing for deeper connection and the yearning for something beyond ordinary human experiences. Explore these desires, passions, and yearnings for a more profound experience of love, but do not forget the enchantment and illusion that can accompany desire. What about that card says go find love? I mean, I get it, but... So, it's going for this whole... As Queen of the Banshees, it's going for the death, the otherworldly, underworld, screaming aspect, because Banshees are said to be harbingers of death. And when you hear one, it's supposed to mean that you or somebody you know is going to die. And it's kind of like a fate thing. So it was kind of hit and a miss for me. Hildegard von Bingen. I didn't know who this was, so I had to Google this. She was a saint, like a mystic. She was born into German nobility, the 10th kid. They gave her to the church because she was the 10th kid. I guess that's what you did during the time. The Vatican consulted her. She predicted a lot of stuff. She was hot shit. And that's a really good painting, if only it were done by peoples. Hildegard von Bingen represents the creative light. Trust your intuition. Embrace your imaginative faculties and allow your creative vision to unfold. Les Dents Blanches. I don't speak French, so come for me if you want to. I don't care. The Moonlit Deceiver. The White Ladies. A test of character. Tempted or challenged to prove your worthiness. The White Lady embodies both light and darkness, the manipulative duality of human nature. I like that. Represent ways we can be influenced and deceived without our awareness. Question the motives and intentions of those around you and yourself. Poor Tituba. Now, I know who Tituba was, but Hildegard and the White Ladies I did not. Tituba just deserves a highlight because poor Tituba. The finger pointer. Complex layered story where she had limited agency and power. Confession was the only way to save herself, and she didn't even save herself in the end because you cannot trust white people, especially old white rich men. The reminder of the power of words and the impact they have on individuals and communities. Calling upon Tituba involves a need for caution and discernment in our interactions and communications. So, you shouldn't call on Tituba at all, though, if you're not Arawak or, Afro-Caribbean, because she was murdered by white colonizing Christians, so she might not take kindly to being approached if you look like that. Discernment. This is where discernment is important. Amonut. I had to look up Amonut because I was like, who the hell is that? I consider myself pretty up on indigenous lore and stuff. It's freaking Matoka. I've never heard her referred to as Amonut in the States. But again, this deck is from French Canada. Bridge of Unity. Acting as a bridge between her people and the English settlers. We all know the story. We all know the Disney story. Most of us also know the real story. 1613, she was captured, held as a hostage, forced to convert to Christianity, change her name, marry an English settler, and then she got sick because she had no immunity to these English diseases once they took her to London forcibly. She was paraded around like royalty because she was technically a chief's daughter, which in, white people speak makes her royalty. And she died at 22 because colonization. The power of bridging divides, whether they're cultural, racial, or ideological. Actively work towards building connections. Some of these, references, I get it, but Bridget Bishop. I knew who Bridget Bishop was before, but it's Bridget Bishop, and it's October, and that's 2 Salem references in one deck, so we kind of have to. The Unyielding Spirit. Prominent figure in Salem, engaging in unconventional activities for women, owned a tavern, dressed vibrantly. Remember, Puritans were black and white, that's it. Displayed a sense of self-confidence and individuality and challenged social norms. She was accused of bewitching individuals. Found guilty, hanged June 10th, 1692. Stay true to yourself and embrace your individuality and your quirks. When I was reading up on her for this, I also found that, I think she was married 3 times. And she was a drinker. And she and at least one of her husbands would, get into screaming matches in the streets, yelling at each other, this is Puritan society, so she was a wild child, which is definitely why she was targeted. Landowner, married 3 times, owned property, she gave no fucks, so that's obviously why they targeted her. Shinigami. Had to look these up. No idea. Shinigami are the kami that invite humans towards death in certain aspects of Japanese culture and religion. It's a Shinto thing. You can read all that. Shinigami, the spectral reaper, death gods or grim reapers. Mysterious cloaked figures with somber and solemn presence. They are neither good nor evil, but serve as impartial guardians of the transition of life and death. Yeah, that picture looks real somberly cloaked. AI. They invite introspection. So basically, face your mortality and find meaning and purpose and stuff. I get it. That tracks. I can roll with that. Nefertiti. I threw Nefertiti in here because I knew who she was, but the computer just did her so dirty with that art. I hate it. Feminine power, deep well of strength, captivating presence and strong leadership, inspiring awe and admiration. Embraced her power, made her mark in male-dominated society. Integrate your feminine and masculine energies within yourself. Embrace your assertiveness and independence and determination while staying rooted in feminine grace and intuition. Okay, but... So, overall thoughts. I just can't. I don't like this deck. There's too many inconsistencies with the construction. These are not matte. They're gloss. The cards are not the same sizes like they're supposed to be. The AI is not disclosed anywhere. The guidebook is not alphabetized. It sounds like a lot of little stuff, but if that stuff matters to you, then, you're not going to like it. Artwork potential. Some of these are stunning, gorgeous, but they're AI. So 0 out of 10. Deck construction. There's so many inconsistencies with the sizing and the description. So I'm going to give that a 3 out of 10. Packaging. The packaging's 10 out of 10. Knocked it out of the ballpark with that. It's fabulous. Contents of the guidebook, 10 out of 10. The table of contents not being alphabetized is like a 1 out of 10 for me. So overall, I don't know, maybe like a 3 or a 4 out of 10 for this kid. I'm not going to use this in my personal practice. It gives me the ick. Just like this deck, it feels like it has no soul to it. It's a brick. There's nothing there. There's nothing to connect with for me. Try it out if you want to and see if you can connect with it. If you can, great, wonderful, fabulous. I love that for you. If not, that's why, you know, we don't do AI art in divination. Next up, we're going to do the Exotic Cancer deck, which is one of my favorites. It's a sex worker deck designed for and by a stripper / exotic dancer in Australia. Love her to pieces. This has been the deck review. We will see you next time, and until then, stay feral.